Hello 8121 students. Well, it's time to begin the next module of the class. Actually, this is the module where we're going to talk about the case study, which will be the driving force for what we're going to do for the next 2.5 months in the course. I think you'll find this module a lot of fun, maybe a little challenging, but a lot of fun. So I'd like to talk about the case study a little bit because, as you probably already figured out from the materials that I've sent you previously and some of the things that are online in Blackboard, that this case is something that is a real-world experience that I've had in the past, and that we're going to try to replicate it in a modern era rather than several years ago when I conducted it. Let me tell you a story. Several years ago, I had a number of projects when I was a professor at Iowa State University with the United States Navy. One of those projects was at the Surface Warfare Officer School in Newport, Rhode Island. Beautiful place if you ever get a chance to go there. It's where Jackie Bouvier, Jackie Kennedy grew up. It's where all the mansions are from the Vanderbilts and everyone. Just a wonderful place to visit. There's also a large Navy base there. That's where the Surface Warfare Officer School is located. It's also where the Naval War College is located. Anyway, I completed a project for the Navy, irrelevant what that project was, and we're walking across campus back into Burke Hall. Burke Hall was the administrative building for the Surface Warfare Officer School, with my subject matter expert, the naval guy who was my contact for my project. And he said, "Mike, well, the project's over. Let's go have a cup of coffee." And as we walked into the building, we walked through the entryway, the lounge, if you would, and there were dozens, literally dozens of young naval officers sitting around, either individually or in small groups, with flashcards. Remember flashcards from elementary school where you'd have a word on one side and its definition on another, or a math problem on one side and the solution on another, and you'd quiz yourself. You'd try to memorize your tens tables, for example. I said, "Dave, what's going on here? What are these guys doing?" These young ensigns, which is the lowest rank for commissioned officers in the Navy. And he says, "Mike, come into my office. This is kind of a fun one." And he pulled this book off of the shelf, Combat Fleets of the World, a newer version than this one. And he said, "Mike, the content of this book is filled with images and data about every nation in the world's naval forces, aircraft, submarines, surface ships, radar systems, communication systems." And guess what? Our young officers have to memorize, yes, memorize the contents of this book. Not every detail, but thousands and thousands of details that are in this book. And I said, "Dave, you've got to be kidding me." I said, "This is the United States Navy, high tech." He says, "Yeah, that's the way they do it, though." I said, "Dave, there's got to be a better way." You know what he said to me? He says, "Mike, if you can come up with a better way, since your last project came in $20,000 under budget, we'll use that $20,000 to fund a prototype. Can you come up with a better way?" As a matter of fact, here's what he said to me. He said, "Can you and your design team," graduate students that I was working with, "create a better way to help our naval officers, our ensigns, learn about the Shipboard Systems Matrix," which is what it is officially called, better known as, or more commonly known as, the threat matrix. Why is it called a matrix? Because you have ships down one side, all the different hundreds and hundreds of ships, and then you have their capabilities across the roads, across the cells, excuse me. And some ships will have the same radar system or the same guns or the same speed as other ships. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a three-dimensional matrix, so that there's a lot of relationships there that need to be understood. And if we could put together a plan, an instructional design, not necessarily the product, but the instructional design, we'd like to see what you guys from your design team can come up with. And I said, "Sure, give me a few days, and we will submit a design prospectus." And Dave said, 3 days will be great. 3 pages will be sufficient." So I went back to my group and I said, "We've got another opportunity to go back to Newport, Rhode Island, or at least to work with the Navy in Newport, Rhode Island. What do you think?" And they said, "Well, what's the project?" And they said, "Well, we are to design a plan for teaching people about the contents of this book." Well, what resources do we have? Well, there aren't any resources except the book. Well, with one exception. I pulled this out. Dave Monroe, our contact, gave me a couple of these laser discs. Remember these old LP-sized discs that were used back a decade and a half ago. They have 54,000 frames on them, so you can put 54,000 individual still pictures, or if there's a combination of 30 still pictures, you can get motion, if you play them back. And on these CDs are literally hundreds of pictures of naval ships, naval guns, submarines, aircraft, radar, sonar systems. And our task is to come up with a way to teach about this information and propose a design, how to develop a lesson that will teach about these materials. So I said, here's your task, group, and my task also. First of all, we have to learn about the threat matrix. We have to learn what it is. Second, we have to learn about the Surface Warfare Officer School, especially the Division Officer School. And third, we have to review this statement of work that Dave Monroe is going to send to me, this plan and this something called a single source purchase order. Oftentimes when groups work with a consultant over a number of projects, instead of sending out additional work, related work, to everybody whom I propose, they say, all right, you've worked with this is a project you've worked on, we want to add a little bit on, we'll give you a single source purchase order, you produce a prospectus to let us know how you propose to go about meeting the needs that we have. We won't send it to everybody else unless you can't meet our needs. The resources you're going to have available are the CD. Now you all have this newer version of the Combat Fleet CD. Let me turn it over. You probably looked at the demo version of this. The entire contents are on this CD, but I've only purchased the demo version, or at least made available to you the demo version. So you have a little bit of the content here. You also will have materials that I have created for you, and I'll talk about them in the second half of this video. And then you have your design plan and your ID team. Now, I'm going to stop now, and then we're going to come back with part 2, where we actually look at the resources that are available to us. But the case that we're going to look at, the assignment that's going to sort of permeate the specific deliverables you're going to have for the rest of the course, are all going to be related to this design of a lesson that will teach the contents of the shipboard systems matrix, better known as the threat matrix. You won't actually have to produce it. That's for extra credit. You won't actually put together a lesson unless you want to. You can get extra credit for that. But that's what the assignment will be. So let me stop now, and then I'll come back in a second with the second portion of this introduction.